there, friends. It's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and theloopylamb.com, and thanks so much for stopping by the channel today. We are going to be looking at creating a skirt and shoes for our week 5 projects for the Amigurumi Advent Calendar Crochet Along. To follow along with today's tutorial, you're going to need the following materials. You'll need a worsted weight yarn in your color of preference. In my original samples, and you'll see in some of the photos, I used 2 different colors, one for the skirt and one for the shoes. But to make today's a little simpler, I'm just going to be using this rouge color of Bravo worsted weight yarn for both of them. And because frankly, I can't use black on camera or you won't be able to see anything. So we're going to be using this pink color also because it goes with the tank top I created last week. You'll need one 9mm button for your skirt. You need a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, a tape measure or a ruler, something to measure your gauge, and a 3.5mm or E size crochet hook. And this is my favorite Furls Odyssey crochet hook from our friends at Furls Crochet. So if you are ready to get started, please hit that like button and please consider subscribing to my channel. If you're interested in finding all the information about our Amigurumi Advent Calendar Crochet Along, you can find those at theloopylamb.com. So I'm going to clear my space here and we'll get ready to get started on the shoes first. Okay, so I've cleared my space. I have my hook and my yarn and I'm ready to get started on making my doll some shoes. Now, we're going to start by creating a magic circle with our yarn, and I'm not going to go over that too quickly because if you're following along, you're like, Ashley, I don't want to see that again. If you are new and you're not familiar with this technique, I do have a video tutorial for this technique on the channel that you can check out. All right, so we're going to start by creating that magic circle. There we go. And keep that stitch marker handy because you are going to be needing it. All right, so to start, we're going to place 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, and then we're just going to tighten that ring up. And now we are ready to start with round 2 of our shoes. For round 2, we're just going to place a single crochet increase, which is 2 single crochet stitches into each stitch around. At the end of round 2, you should have 12 stitches. And again, we're placing 2 single crochets into each stitch around. We're going to place a stitch marker into the first stitch of the round, and we'll move it up to mark the first stitch of each subsequent round. Now, if you'd like, you can crochet over that tail so you don't have to worry about weaving it in later. All right, and now we're ready to start with round 3. For round 3, we're going to start by placing 1 single crochet into the first stitch. Don't forget to move up that stitch marker. And then you're going to place a single crochet increase into the next stitch. And this will be our repeat for the round. You're going to start by putting 1 single crochet into the first stitch and putting 2 single crochets into the next stitch. I'm going to repeat that all the way around the piece, and at the end of round 3, you should have 18 single crochets. All right, and we are ready to start with round 4. And for round 4, we're going to start by placing 1 single crochet into that first stitch. Then we're going to place a single crochet increase into the next stitch. Now we will place 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, followed by a single crochet increase into the next. And now we were going to repeat what we just did 4 more times. We're going to do 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, followed by an increase in the next. And again, 1 single crochet in the first and second stitch, followed by a single crochet increase into the next. We're going to do this all the way around until there's one stitch left to work. And in this last stitch here, we're going to place 1 single crochet. At the end of round 4, you should have 24 single crochet stitches. Now, it's been a while since we started and finished our actual doll. So if you did match gauge your first time, you're going to want to grab that tape measure or a ruler, and you're going to measure across your shoe to see that you've got gauge. So here I'm going to measure across again at the widest point, so where you left off, to the opposite side. Doesn't want to sit flat for me here. And my piece measures 1.5 inches across, so I know that I'm still on gauge and that I can continue on crocheting, knowing that my shoe is going to fit my doll. If you're finding that it is not going to fit your doll, you might have to adjust your gauge. You can do that by just changing how you're holding your yarn, or you might even need to go up a hook size or two, or even down if you're too loose, just to make sure that you're still using that consistent tension, right? Having that consistent tension throughout these projects is really important to make sure things will fit. All right, so we're going to move on with round 5, and for round 5, we're going to be working 1 single crochet into each stitch around, but we're going to be working in the front loops only of our stitches. And just to refresh your memory, if you flip your stitches towards you and you see those V's, this strand that is closest to you, that is the front loop. So you're going to insert your hook and pick up that front loop only. You're going to yarn over and single crochet. I'm going to do that all the way around the piece. If you'd like to pause your video and come back to me when you're ready for round 6, I'll show you what to do next. All right, I just finished with round 5 and I'm ready to move on to round 6. For round 6 and 7, they are done in the same manner. You're just going to place 1 single crochet into each stitch around, but we're going to be working back under both loops as we normally would for both of these rounds. So if you'd like to pause your video and do round 6 and 7, placing 1 single crochet into each stitch around, I'll meet you back here for round 8 of our shoe. All right, we are ready to start with round 8, and we are getting ready to close up our shoe so it actually starts looking more like a shoe. So we are going to do that by doing a decrease over the first and second stitches, and as we've done in our previous patterns, we're going to do an invisible decrease. If you're not familiar with that, I do have a tutorial here on the channel, but I will very quickly show you how that is done. So to do our decrease, we're going to pick up the front loops only of the first and second stitches. We'll yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you are done. That is your single crochet decrease. And we're going to do that 5 more times. All right, so we should have a total of 6 decreases now, and we are going to finish our round by placing 1 single crochet stitch into each of the remaining 12 stitches. At the end of round 8, you should have 18 stitches. Now we are ready to start with round 9, and for round 9 we're just going to place 1 single crochet into each stitch around. All right, so I have finished with round 9 of the shoe. I'm going to cut my yarn and leave a tail of a couple of inches, so I have lots to weave in. Now I'm going to grab my tapestry needle. And I'm going to thread the tail onto a tapestry needle here. And take that stitch marker out of your piece, and you're going to do what is called an invisible join. I've also heard it called ultimate join. I do have a full tutorial on how to do this and what it's actually called on the channel. But what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this next stitch and even out the appearance of our top row here. So we're going to insert our needle from front to back and under both loops, pull that all the way through. We don't want it to be too tight. And then we're going to go in through the top of the last stitch of our round and out through the back, picking up that back loop only and pulling that through. And you'll see that we've created a V on top, and we're just going to gently pull that until it looks exactly like the other stitches. Now you will need to make sure that your end here is woven in well, so that way it doesn't unravel for you. And you'll have to weave in the end here from the bottom of the shoe. Now I will let you know that the shoes are snug to go on, and that's done on purpose to make sure that they do not fall off during play, and that they'll have the longest lifespan possible while playing. I've noticed with my daughter playing with her dolls and all of her doll clothes, she gets so frustrated when the shoes fall off. So I did deliberately make these to be very fitted to the doll's foot. So if you are finding that it is a little snug to get on, just give them a tiny bit of a stretch, or like once you get them on the shoe, leave them on there for a little bit and they'll start to relax. So not to worry if your shoe is fitted to the foot, because that is how they're meant to be. Anyways, once I've done weaving in my ends, I'm going to need to make another one. So if you'd like to rewind the video and repeat all of the instructions that I just gave you for shoe number 2, you'll have a full set of shoes for your doll. And I'm going to get set up here for us to start on the skirt for our doll next. All right, so I am ready to start with our skirt now. And just again, you're going to need that button handy. You'll also need either a sewing needle and thread, or you can use some of your yarn and split it to sew your button on, tapestry needle, a pair of scissors, and your hook and yarn. So we're going to get started by creating a slip knot and placing that onto our hook. And then we start our skirt by doing a chain of 40. All right, so we have our chain of 40 here, and we are going to take a look at our chain and identify the chain that's 7th from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we're going to skip the first 6 stitches, and we're going to single crochet in the 7th chain from the hook. And just like it did in our tank top pattern, this is going to be our buttonhole. So now we're just going to place 1 single crochet into each stitch across. At the end of row 1 of our skirt, we should have 34 stitches. Okay, so I just finished with row 1 of the skirt, and I'm going to chain up 1 and turn my work. Now for rows 2 through 5, it's very simple. We're just going to place 1 single crochet into each stitch across. When we get to the end of each row, we will chain 1 and turn our work. We won't have any sort of stitch count changes. We should always have the 34 stitches. So if you'd like to pause your work and come back to me when you're ready to do row 6, I will meet you back here. Okay, so for rounds 6 through 13, we are going to repeat a small variation of what we've been doing. So we are going to do that chain 1 and turn, and we're going to single crochet into each stitch across. And I've already taken the liberty to do row 6 here, just single crochet across. Now what's going to be different about these rows is that we're going to join our piece together. So we're going to grab the opposite end of our piece and we're going to form a circle like this, so that way we can find that first stitch easily. We're going to insert our hook into that stitch, and we're going to join the last stitch to the first stitch with this slip stitch. And to do a slip stitch, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the loop on our hook. And now you are joined. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and then we're going to single crochet into each stitch around, and we're always going to be turning our work. Now I do recommend that you have a stitch marker to keep track of that last stitch of the round, because especially when you're working in all of the same color like I am, once you do that join, it can be a little tricky to find that last stitch after you've joined and you made your way all the way around. And some people can lose stitches that way, and just popping that stitch marker into the last stitch helps to make sure that you know where that last stitch is and you're not losing or adding any stitches that you do not need. So if you'd like to pause your video and do rounds 6 through 13 in single crochet and joining those ends together, I'll meet you back here when we're done round 13 to show you how to finish off your doll's skirt. So I just finished row 13 of my skirt, and I've joined my last stitch to my first stitch with a slip stitch. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut my yarn and leave a tail of a couple of inches. Now, if you're trying this on your doll and you're like, wow, this is too short, you can always add some extra rows in this area, this joined area here, to make it as long or as short as you would like. So I have cut my yarn, then I would just thread this tail onto a tapestry needle and weave in my ends and make sure that the right side of my fabric is facing out. It's not that important since it is reversible, but I like to just make sure it's done. Now, anyways, once you're done with weaving in your ends, you'll go back up to the top of your skirt and find your chain 6 space here. And just like we did in our tank top, we're going to take our button, we're going to find a good spot for it where it holds that chain 6 spot. Goodness, chain 6 space in place. Say that 5 times fast at 6 in the morning, I tell you. And you're going to just sew that button in place across from where the chain 6 space is. I like to do it just a little away from the edge, so that way it does put tension on the chain 6 space, so it's not going to just keep popping off. So once you're done sewing that on and weaving in your ends, you are all done your skirt. And now we should have a full outfit for our doll. So that's it for this week. Join me again for week 6 of our Amigurumi Advent Calendar Crochet Along, and we will be starting on another outfit for our dolls. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please consider subscribing to this channel. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. And again, you can find the full crochet along details on my blog, theloopylamb.com, as well as free crochet patterns and tutorials. Thanks so much for joining me, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.